All right, so today we're going to be making some gnomes. I've got some examples here for you to look at. Some are super cute and very detailed, as you can see, but they're a little bit on the small side. So I would like for you guys to please keep your gnomes at about 4 inches in height to the top of the cup. This one's a little shy of that. This one's a little shy of that as well, because if you make it to 4 inches, when it's wet, it will shrink down to about 3.5 or 3 3/4. So make sure you keep your gnomes at least 4 inches in height. There's different body types of gnomes. This one's super round and cute, but you don't have to go that route. You can barely see the body on this gnome. You can see the body on the back, but not really on the front. This one, the body is much taller, and he's got no beard, but he's got some additions that make this gnome look complete. Your requirements for these gnomes, not only do they have to be at least 4 inches in height, but they also need some kind of decorative detail, whether you're going to make additions, add few things on there, stamp the hats, whatever you decide, it has to have some kind of decorative detail on it. The tools that you will need are a ruler, a fettling knife, let's see, a scoring rib, some water, a needle tool, a rubber tip tool, a small paintbrush, and perhaps a pencil. And of course, you're going to use some clay. So we're going to get started. And I'm going to open up my clay. Please remember, I'm going to move these guys over. Please remember that when you're working with clay, whatever you're not using currently will go into the bag. So I'm going to start with this piece of clay for the body of my gnome, and the rest of my clay is going to go into the bag. Get myself some water here to use as slip, and we're ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start making the body. The body, pick up the clay, make a little coil in the air, like a little sausage, just like that. Give it a tap. Make sure that it is smoothed out. You don't have a lot of wrinkles on here. And then you're going to start rolling. So when I roll a coil, you want to make sure that you are pushing on the part that's going to taper to skinny. So I'm going to pressure, no pressure, pressure, no pressure, pressure, no pressure. You only put pressure when you roll away from you. I want to make sure that this bottom stays level. So pick it up every now and then. Make sure that you tap it on your table. I kind of turn and tap to make sure that it is staying level, and then I can put it down and continue rolling. You want the gnome body to taper like a cone. That means wide to narrow, big to small, thick to thin, if you want to call it that. If your gnome cone is not rolling round, it's because you are putting pressure on the out and the in. You only want to put a little pressure on the rolling away from you. Now this body is a little tall for my liking, so I'm going to cut it down, and I'm going to use this to create, I'm going to use this right here, this extra piece of clay, to start creating the nose, the beard. You want to make sure that the gnome body is smooth, rolled nicely. You want to take care of all these details before the body starts to dry out. Next is the next I'm going to roll out the beard for my gnome. So I'm going to take a rolling pin, if I can find one, All right, we're back. So we've got this little piece of clay. I'm going to start making the beard for my gnome. I want to roll this into a little ball. Okay, so there's my ball of clay. I'm going to push it down a little bit, and I'm going to start rolling. When you roll clay, you want to roll gently, lightly. Okay, change directions, roll again, flip it, roll one direction, change the direction, roll the other direction, flip it, and we're just going to keep going this way until it's thin enough to create a beard. The beard can be whatever size or shape that you like. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to sort of measure onto my gnome so that I can figure out how big I want the beard. I think I want it to go as long as possible. So I'm going to make a straight line on the top, and I'm going to come down and just cut the beard out like that. Once you do that, smooth your edges. And it's ready to get scored on. If it's not long enough for you, of course you can remake the beard. It's up to you how you want to make this look. I am going to take my scoring tool and score the beard. I'm going to add some slip and set it where I want it to go on the gnome body. Please make sure the beard goes all the way to the top of the gnome body, all the way to the top. Once I set it on there, it gives me a little bit of a wet marker so I know where to then score on the main body. Add a little slip, and we're ready to attach. Again, the beard is going to go all the way to the top of the body, and I'm going to gently tap it down. I do not want this beard to blend or melt into the side of this body. I do want it to make solid contact, so I am giving it a gentle push all the way around, up and down the beard, but I don't want to blend it into the body. I want it to have this separation right here. I take my rubber tip tool and I come through and seal that edge. I'm going to seal the other edge as well, and that will ensure that no air is going to get in there and that beard is going to stay on during the fire. Okie doke. So far so good. Now I'm time to make the nose. So the nose is a tiny little ball as well. I'm going to roll a little ball. Make sure that your nose is not too big for your gnome. It should be proportionate. If you have a giant gnome, then yes, okay, a big nose, but a small gnome just needs a small nose. I'm going to use the same cone method. I'm rolling out with pressure on one side so it starts to make a cone. You want a little bit of a tail, but not much. See how it's making a cone like that? Because I'm putting more pressure on the edge here. Make sure it's nice and round and that it fits. And now you can go ahead and score this nose onto the top of the gnome. You're going to set it down, push down on the tail, and then bend this little nose down a little bit. All right, so we've got a good start here. We're going to go ahead and end there, part 1, and continue.